Well, good evening to everybody. The space looks fantastic here. For those of you that haven't been to the senior center, they've done some modifications and added some millwork and the light grid up here, and I just think it looks terrific. And this actually is a great venue for us tonight. So, welcome to the 41st California Assembly District Candidate Forum. I'm George Filardo from Art Center College of Design, and I have the distinct privilege of serving as the chairman of the board of directors of the Pasadena Chamber of Commerce, and I'm going to be your moderator tonight. This forum for candidates vying for the 41st California Assembly seat is co-sponsored by the Pasadena Chamber of Commerce, the Pasadena Foothills Association of Realtors, and the South Pasadena Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to take a moment to thank the Pasadena Senior Center for providing this space for the event, and I also would like to thank Justin Hornick and 1545 Media for capturing the forum for broadcast as well as being on the internet. Before we introduce the candidates present, I'd like to acknowledge my fellow board members from the Pasadena Chamber who are here tonight, and members of our Legislative and Government Affairs Committee. And if you'd stand and be recognized, I'd greatly appreciate it, CL. Come on, Mike and CL, if you would, please. Anyone else? Also, I'd like to recognize the immediate past chair, Rich Roach. Is he here, Rich? Chamber CEO Scott Feldman, who was just here. There he is in the back. And the board members and staff of the South Pasadena Chamber of Commerce. And for those of you that are here, we appreciate it and acknowledge you as well. From the Pasadena Foothills Association of Realtors, please acknowledge Ruth McNiven. Ruth, are you here tonight? She's the president of the directors, and Cecil Griffin, chairman of the Community and Political Outreach Committee, as well as any other board and committee members who may be present. We thank you for your support. You know, I'd like to especially recognize the candidates who are here this evening. From my left, please welcome Michael Cacciotti, Edward Colton, Chris Holden, Donna Lowe, and Victoria Rusnick. This is an informational forum and not a debate. Each candidate will be asked to answer each question, and after your opening statements, you'll get 90 seconds to answer each question before we ask the next person to answer. We will begin with Mr. Cacciotti and move down the table so everyone has an opportunity to respond to the question. We will then ask the next question and start with Mr. Colton and move to Mr. Holden and so on. We will not go back to allow for rebuttals or clarifications from those who have already answered. As with the candidates, we expect those in the audience to be respectful. We appreciate your applause and your enthusiasm for the candidates, but we ask that you maintain a positive and civil and supportive role. And if we feel anyone is disrespectful or becomes disruptive, we'll ask you to leave. We'll begin with an opening statement from each of our candidates. You'll have 3 minutes. Once you reach your 2 minutes, we will signal you with a yellow card, and at 3 minutes, we'll signal you with a red card, at which point we'll ask you to defer to your next candidate. Each candidate will also have an opportunity at the end of the forum for a closing statement. So I ask you to speak up into the microphone because we're recording this event. And first, we start with you, Mr. Cacciotti.
Thank you, George, and good evening, everyone. I'd like to especially thank the South Pasadena and Pasadena Chambers of Commerce and the Foothills Association of Realtors for hosting this great forum and my fellow candidates. My name is Michael Cacciotti. I'm currently a state prosecutor with the State of California Department of Justice for the past 10 years. I prosecute consumer fraud against seniors and consumers. I'm also in my third term as mayor of the well-run, well-managed historic city of South Pasadena, and I've been in the council for approximately 11 years. I've lived in the district for over 20 years. I want to tell you why I ran for city council 11 years ago, because it's very appropriate for tonight. like many of you living in this area, I enjoy recreating down in the Arroyo, especially walking my dog or jogging or watching the equestrians. But back in 1998, the City Council was meeting in private to sell off a large portion of the Arroyo behind the golf course driving range by York Boulevard Bridge to build a large facility. I organized a number of people in the community. We got together, and after several years, we were successful in preserving that as what we call today the South Pasadena Wildlife and Woodland Park for all posterity. I'm very proud of the fact that during these 11 years I've been on the City Council, I've actually, during these tough budgetary times, tripled our reserves. And we did this by specifically eliminating waste, reducing costs, and implementing a lot of energy efficiency programs and practices in the city of South Pasadena, a leader in the region in energy efficiency. At the same time, we embarked on a comprehensive approach to revitalize our entire infrastructure, water system, sewer systems, roads, curbs, gutters, the basic municipal services all cities seek and ask for. And we did this during those 11 years while tripling our reserves without laying off or furloughing one single employee. I'm running for state assembly, frankly, because like many of you, I'm fed up and I'm frustrated with what's going on in Sacramento these days and the polarization in the Capitol. I feel we need new leadership, and I can bring that to Sacramento. My priorities are four. Number one, creating jobs and expanding our economy through investing in mass transportation like the SCAG's $500 billion regional transportation plan. Investing in education, a 21st educational system where we spend more money on children than we do on prisons. And number three, also investing in a 21st century energy system where we stop our $700 billion a year dependence on foreign oil and invest in appropriate alternative energy systems. And finally, I'm concerned about our environment, clean air, clean water, open space. I'm the only candidate in this race with experience at the local level, regional level, and state level managing multi-million-dollar budgets. Thank you very much.
Mr. Colton?
Yes, good evening. It's wonderful to be here, and thank you for the Pasadena and South Pasadena Chambers of Commerce and the Board of Realtors putting this on today. I'm humbled and honored to be your candidate. All of us here tonight know that our state's on the brink of bankruptcy. We are out of control with between an $18 billion and a $27 billion deficit. Not $9 billion, but those numbers I gave you. We have a $33 billion debt. We have a serious concern about financial meltdown, and that's the reason I'm running. To avoid bankruptcy, I have put together a white paper. The white paper is on my website, and you can read that, and there's 17 points in there to turn our state around. We have run out of time. We no longer have time today, as we are kicking the can down the road, and we need to stop that. I believe that we can bring California back to economic prosperity, but we have to act now, today. I have risen to the ranks as the president and CEO of a pharmaceutical company, and I managed over 3,300 people. I've run a company. I know what business has to do to be successful. I know what causes a company to go out of business, and we need to provide incentives to companies today so they do not leave our state. Sadly, our problems are complex, and we don't need generic sound bites such as, I'm pro-business, or we're open for business. Today, we are regulated and overtaxed, and we're number 47 in the state of California with respect to business friendliness. On a personal side, I lived in poverty. I grew up having nothing. My father was killed in the Korean War, and my mother raised myself and my retarded brother all by herself. And my only way out of poverty was through education. I actually attended Pasadena City College, and so education to me is extremely important. My business experience is that I'm a CPA, I'm an attorney, and I'm a real estate broker. So, my friends, I do not share my business and academic background to be boastful, but to let you know that I'm a different type of candidate, separate from the other parties that are up here. And it's difficult, but I'm not like my Republican counterpart. I'm not a Tea Party candidate. I'm not part of the political establishment. I believe in investing in education, and the issues in Sacramento are extremely, extremely difficult and complex. You need somebody up there who is tested, and to this end, I am the candidate that can do all the above.
Thank you, Mr. Colton. Mr. Holden?
Thank you, and I would join also in thanking the Chambers of Commerce of South Pasadena and Pasadena and the Board of Realtors from Pasadena for bringing this first forum together to hopefully get this election cycle started. I mean, this is a time where we need to get people focusing on the importance of electing leadership to go to Sacramento and make a difference. I've served in the City Council in Pasadena for nearly 23 years. I've grown up in Pasadena, and this is a great city. I feel like this is a perfect opportunity for me to step forward and offer leadership that comes out of a community of learning about collaboration, working together, building relationships for the common good of a community. We're all on the same page, whether you're Democrat, Republican, or declined to state. At the end of the day, this is our state. And right now, it's not working. And we need to bring to Sacramento a leadership that has a comprehensive understanding of how to create partnerships and how to be successful in doing that. I grew up in this town, as I said. I graduated from San Diego State. I came back to Pasadena. I ran for office. I was appointed to the Light Rail Alignment Task Force back in 1985, which was the first citizens body that looked at bringing light rail from through South Pasadena and into Pasadena and through Pasadena, which is basically put it in place for where we see the line extending into the further eastern part of our county, Claremont, and ultimately out to Ontario Airport. I've had the privilege of working with the City Council and with the community where we've been successful at bringing health clinics to our community. We've been successful at bringing transportation, whether it's what we call an arts bus, which is moving transportation-dependent communities through our city at low cost, affordability, bringing affordable housing into our city. And so these are the kinds of things that we've been able to do, successes that we've built. When I joined the City Council in 1989, old Pasadena did not look like it does now. And so it's through a collaborative effort that we've been successful. And so I'm excited about what this opportunity brings because I think that we have a great new district built with great communities, neighborhoods, from Pasadena, South Pasadena, all the way out to Upland and Rancho Cucamonga. And so I'm excited about this opportunity because I think I'm uniquely qualified. I've been a business owner, also a real estate broker, someone who served not only in local government for nearly a quarter century, but also regional government, 19 years at the Burbank, Glendale, Pasadena Airport Authority. And so I'm excited about being able to engage with you. Should I be elected, this is your seat. I will be working with you, and you will be helping to set the legislative agenda for the 41st Assembly District. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Holden. And Ms. Lowe?
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, there's a poster in Sacramento that says California is not only broke, but it's broken. So I absolutely agree with Chris in that Sacramento is broken. Wisdom is the insight to solution. The challenges that California faces today could be well served by these words. You cannot help the poor by destroying the rich, and you cannot strengthen the weak by weakening the strong. Just today, 2 Harvard professors, it came at such a timely time, I guess. It states that if states and localities attempt in a serious way to tax the rich and give to the poor, the rich will depart while the poor will be attracted, and government revenues and expenditures vary inversely. So let me ask this question in the room today. Who in here likes coming in last place, virtually last place in everything you do? You're on the sidelines of your son's soccer game. Are you rooting for him to come in last place? Or you're a grandparent watching your grandchild in a spelling bee. Are you rooting for them to come in last place? I think not. Yet Sacramento continually puts reckless regulation, taxes, and spending priorities ahead of the solvency of our state. There are times when intentions are noble, but their effects are catastrophic, and this is where we find California today. Excessive regulation, irresponsible spending, and reckless taxation continue to contribute to California being ranked 48th in business friendliness, 49th in tax friendliness, In other words, we are ranked almost dead last in the nation for business friendliness. And aren't you tired of being the butt of late-night comedy jokes? Because I know I am. The above mentioned are the business challenges that we face in this election cycle. All that I have discussed so far has resulted in businesses leaving our state, leaving in droves and taking the jobs and tax revenue with it, and squeezing budget buckets, including vital services like education, mass transit, and welfare. And how does this affect us here in the district? The anti-business climate in Sacramento prohibits middle-class jobs from being developed and available in our district. And I have talked with several business owners in this district, as well as spoken with industry experts in energy, in insurance, in manufacturing, and even educators, and they have all one common message. Sacramento undermines their ability to get the job done. And if they could, they would leave our state in a heartbeat, and that is scary. I envision a California that is attractive to business, a California where entrepreneurs speak to develop their ideas and dreams, a California that has good jobs for the middle class, a California that educates its students to compete on the international and national levels. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ms. Rudnick?
Good evening. Thank you so much for having all of us, and more importantly, thank you all for coming. I'm Victoria Rusnak, and I'm running for state assembly because I think California is in a crisis. And I'd like to bring my education and my business skills and my leadership skills to Sacramento to help us solve some of these problems. A little bit about my background. I grew up in Pasadena in La Cañada area, and I received my business degree at USC. And after getting my law degree, I moved on to earned a master's in environmental law in Washington, D.C. Currently, I'm the president and general counsel at the Rusnak Auto Group. Alongside my father, I run a multi-million-dollar company with over 700 employees. Currently, I'm managing a $30 million payroll in our district and making sure that all of our 700 employees have a job, health care, and all the while making a profit. It's a busy time. I've had the immense pleasure of participating in the arts community, working with our at-risk youth to bring them an alternative to being on the streets and at risky places. And Artworks is a place where I feel education has brought many things to our youth here in Pasadena. So that's been a love of mine here in the city. Most importantly, I'm a mother of 2 teenagers, and so that keeps me running, but that's part of my life. So my platform and why I'm here and why I'm running is because I would like very much to tackle the issues that we have with our budget. I'd like to work on attracting and retaining jobs in our communities, and I'd like to help restore funding to our public schools. And I believe I'm uniquely qualified to do so, and look forward to answering any questions you have. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all very, very much. We've asked those in the audience who have questions to write them on index cards. And once we've gone through the 3 questions posed by me, the moderator, we'll go on to the cards from the audience. We will not ask questions of specific candidates, but we will ask each to answer each question. If we do get a question for a specific candidate, we'll broaden it to include all of the candidates. If you have a question, you haven't submitted a card yet, please raise your hand and we'll get a card to you. We will get as many questions as we can in the next 90 minutes allotted for the forum. So we'll begin with a few questions from the sponsoring organizations. You'll each have 90 seconds to answer each question. And starting with Mr. Colton, our region has suffered during the recent recession.
Pardon me, you're starting with him.
No, I'm actually starting with Mr. Colton. We'll start with the left, Paul. How did you want to do that? Yeah.
So then you rotate next.
Then we rotate through.
Okay.
Right.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
So questions to me? Or,
The question is to you, Mr. Colton, as I indicated.
All right.
I'll start again. Sorry for the confusion.
Sure, we'll start.
Our region has suffered during the recent recession. We've seen businesses close and others struggle to remain open. Pasadena's office vacancy rate is near 20%. In the eastern portion of the district, foreclosures and residential vacancies are still common. Development has ground to a halt throughout the district. Compounding the problem, the state has eliminated redevelopment agencies, removing one of the only tools municipalities had to support the job creation and economic growth. What did you see your role in stimulating our economy, and what specific plans do you have to support a recovery here?
Yeah, that's a tough question. If I had the answer for everything, I'd be president, I think, right now. But in general, my feeling is that what's happening right now is our various cities and et cetera, when the redevelopment funds stopped, that really cut off the legs from the cities. And if that can be started again with new sources of funds up in Sacramento, that'd be one of the first things I'd want to do. I'd want to get that money back to the cities and get them back to what they were doing before. That's very important. As far as the foreclosures and things of that nature, that has been a very unfortunate situation. And I would like to see if Sacramento can put more pressure on the banks to slow down their foreclosures so people can catch up and get their properties back and come up with a plan that makes sense that they can then keep their properties and go forward with their life. As far as other recommendations, in my white paper, I have one recommendation with respect to tax credits or excuse me, the limitation of property taxes. And the limitation of property taxes, excuse me, is that I would apply limitation property taxes to seniors so that seniors can start buying homes that are foreclosed and retirees from outside the state of California can come here and buy those homes.
Thank you. Mr. Holden.
Thank you. I think what we would do is not unlike what we're trying to do here in Pasadena. Once redevelopment was taken away by the state, it was our decision that we needed to bring together leadership in Pasadena that was made up of the business leadership, but also those in the nonprofit world and who basically make up the community of Pasadena to start looking at a new strategy and, quite frankly, incentives that might come out of that. One of the first things I think is very important is to try to define, at least as it would relate to Pasadena, define what your community is about. This is not a manufacturing town, and it's not so much a manufacturing district. Healthcare is one of the larger employers in our region. Certainly years ago we looked at a biotech medical corridor to try to encourage those type of businesses to come into Pasadena, building off of Huntington Memorial Hospital, JPL, and Caltech, and certainly keeping those entrepreneurial incubator businesses in town. When you look at it from the state, you have to look at what kinds of businesses are the types of businesses that are organic to the state. Certainly the entertainment industry is an area that we need to support and create incentives for. We see a lot of filming outside of the state, and we can do more in terms of creating opportunities along those lines. But I think in terms generally of coming up with incentives to make sure that the businesses locate in Southern California and in this district is what we want to accomplish.
Thank you, Mr. Holden.
Please don't kill the messenger. But unfortunately, right now, there's 52 assembly members in Sacramento that do not have free market as their #1 priority. So until we change the culture in Sacramento, we are not going to change the outcome here in our district. Last year alone, Mr. Colton has put forth some ideas in his white paper that are the same exact bills that were presented last year in the Assembly that were killed. There are 4 pages of these bills that would have helped spur economic recovery, including tax incentives, a moratorium on penalties and fees to attract businesses here, and they were killed in Sacramento. So until we change the type of candidates that we send to Sacramento who do have free market enterprise in mind and do understand that it is the free market who creates the jobs that would then employ people here in our district, we're not going to change anything, because there's 27 Republicans in Sacramento who every single day are fighting for business regulations to be lessened so that we can spur economic recovery.
Thank you, Ms. Long. Ms. Roseanne, please.
You know, politicians don't create jobs. So what we can do is get out of the way a little bit and let businesses run a little bit more smoothly. And I believe that if elected, you have to work closely with each of the cities and form teams and bring people together collaboratively to find ways to attract and retain jobs. And if we use tax incentives, and we also look at worker training programs to retrain some of the people that might be laid off, we can start to tackle the unemployment issue and start to spur economic growth through small businesses. I also think that we have to always do a cost-benefit analysis. I don't think we see enough of this in Sacramento, and of course in business we do it every day. So a cost-benefit analysis, of making sure that when we pass a regulation, how it's going to affect a business. We have to be thoughtful about that. Lastly, I would just hope that here in the local district office, that my office would be something that was a job-creating office, where we really focus on helping the citizens in the cities to stimulate their economy and their growth.
Thank you, Ms. Resnick. Mr. Cacciati, please.
Thank you, sir. And I would respectfully disagree with Ms. Rusnak. I think government can create jobs in the tens of thousands. And here's why. We can stimulate our economy through investing comprehensive, huge deferred infrastructure programs like they did after the Great Depression. Let me give you a few examples. Recently, the Southern California Association of Governments, the 5 counties in Southern California, came out with their blueprint for transportation in Southern California from 2012 to 2035. And it's a $500 billion program. Half of that, $250 billion, just for operations and maintenance, bringing our bridges, our structures, our trains, the Gold Line, all the trains, the Blue Line, and our buses up to standards. They're falling apart. $250 billion there, $250 billion in creating a 21st century transportation system that moves our goods and services and moves passengers along. Let me give you a few local examples right here in the San Gabriel Valley in our district. The Gold Line Construction Authority, which I sat on, I just got a lawsuit several months ago when they were sued. We're putting together the Phase 2A from Pasadena all the way to Azusa. That's $500 million, 6,900 jobs. Doesn't include the jobs we're creating in outlying areas for the materials, the wood, the rebar. I was just looking at the iconic bridge structure over the 210 freeway. It's incredible. How much time is that?
15 seconds.
Okay, thank you. Look at the ACE, Alameda Corridor Construction Authority. That's grade separations. That's over $1 billion, 10,000 jobs over the next couple of years. These are all high-paying jobs. What about transit-oriented development along those stations, which creates millions of high-paying jobs and new technologies to green technology? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cacciati. Mr. Holden, if you would be the first to answer this, and we'll move around the table in the same manner. Our state government is ineffective at everything from ensuring an equitable distribution of the state's water resources to balancing the budget. What would you do to break that gridlock in Sacramento?
Well, I think one of the things that we can do is provide a little bit more transparency. Right now, you have a lot of the decisions made between legislators and lobbyists. They don't make their way into the public forum where we have an opportunity collectively to be a part of that process. How we operate, how I've operated for 23 years here in Pasadena on the council has been to create a collaborative, open process, whether we're going through a budget deliberations, whether we're dealing with deregulation of the utility industry, and we've had to work through that process. It has to be where the state legislature becomes more in touch with the community so that they're in a, and with the residents throughout the state. I would propose that there would be budget deliberations, goal setting between the legislature and the people in the state of California, that you have maybe 3 sessions throughout the state, Northern California, Central and Southern, and to allow the people to be a part of the goal setting, seeing how the state starts to realign the budget with the priorities. There's no way in the world that you can have education as a top priority and have it funded at the bottom. So we have to do a better job of making sure that the people are part of this process.
Thank you. Ms. Lowe?
I don't think it's a Republican versus Democrat problem in Sacramento, because if you look at the ruling party today, they've got the majority, and we still haven't been able to pass a very sensible, balanced budget. So I don't think that it's a one side of the aisle versus the other. I fully and heartily believe it's the special interest. When certain candidates go up to Sacramento, they are owned by certain special interests. They no longer have free will to do what their elected body has asked them to do. I've been on the floor many times when I see legislators, Democrat friends of mine, who vote against something that they knew that their district needed only because they owed a favor to a special interest entity. I feel this is the biggest problem that we face to get rid of the gridlock in Sacramento. I think some initiatives on the November ballot are going to take care of that and put special interest money out of elections, which I think will give the people as a whole a better chance for having a better representative government here in California.
Thank you, Ms. Rosen, please.
I think that we absolutely need more transparency in Sacramento. I believe that there is so much finger pointing going on. There is so much fighting, and I think there are a lot of people that are in Sacramento that are more concerned about their career in politics than they are in representing the people in this district, let alone the state. I believe, just as in business, you have to work cooperatively. You have to build consensus, whether you're the leader, whether you're the worker. However it goes, you have to bring everyone in the room and let everybody have a say and an idea and present themselves. And then you have to have dialogue. You have to start the budgeting process earlier by talking about things in a timely way. We wait too long. You know, in business, you start projecting months before the year starts, and you bring everyone in, everybody debates the numbers, and you come together to find a common goal.
Thank you. Mr. Cacciati, please.
Thank you. You know, I agree with transparency and accountability with my fellow colleagues here. But, you know, I think one of the big problems is term limits. And I voted actually in support of term limits a number of years ago. But right now, assembly members are there 6 years, senators 8. I worked in the state capitol in 1987 to 1991 as the senior assistant to the Speaker Pro Tem of the California State Assembly. I was also a senior consultant for the Assembly Public Safety Committee reviewing all the criminal laws in the state of California. It was different then than it is now. I've been to Sacramento recently. People developed relationships. There were relationships, collaborative relationships, working together. They had to. They were there 10, 15, 20 years. It's not like now. They get up there, 6 years, as they said, they're trying to raise money, affected by lobbyists. They're looking for the next job. They're gone. And what's most important about the budget issue, let me give you one example. What I did in South Pasadena examining our budgets, our leases, the state just did an audit of all the leases by the State Lands Commission, 4,000 leases. They took 32. There used to be an agency of 200 people that oversaw it. Now there's 30. They examined those 32 leases and found the state was losing tens of millions of dollars because they did not manage our state properties, our marinas, our golf courses, our parks very well. They could make hundreds of millions of dollars if people sat there like I have in the council, examined our golf course lease, and after 10 years said, let's put it out to bid and quadruple our income for the city. The state can do the same thing, but assembly members, senators come and go so fast, they can't sit there and look at long-term problems like we have in South Pasadena and tripled our reserves and haven't laid off one single individual.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Colton, please.
I have to put my CPA hat on right now for this budget. Our budget is out of control, and let me tell you why. The Legislative Analyst's Office said for 2011-2012 that the budget deficit was $18 billion. Brown, in my opinion, should be recalled. It is because he says it's $9 billion, and the reason is because he's got the two propositions that are in November in his budget. If I was CFO at my prior company, if I presented a budget like that to my company based upon what-if scenarios of the law is going to change, I'd be fired. I'd be done. I'd be toast, okay? There's a carryover of $6 billion from 2010, 2011. There's a $6.5 billion announcement by the Comptroller's Office in February that we're short in our revenues. If you add all those numbers up, We're all over the place. We're 30 billion, we're 33 billion, we're 9 billion, we're 18 billion. The point is, this state better get its act together with respect to what is the real number that we're dealing with. We don't know. And our governor doesn't know, and he's frantically trying to figure out how to politically come up with a number to satisfy the constituents. That is my deal. Our budget doesn't make sense, and it's not real.
Thank you, Mr. Colton. Ms. Lowe, if you would start with this next question. Many express concern about the state of our educational system. Local public schools are underfunded and sometimes underperforming. Our community colleges, the Cal State system, and the University of Southern California are facing yet another year of funding cuts. Combined, this could result in a significant lack of adequately trained and educated people for our workforce. How would you propose to fund and support education at all levels and ensure that employers can find appropriately trained and educated employees?
So I'm not sure if everyone in here knows how our state constitution works in regards to budget, but basically $1 is spent on debt repayment. So the more we borrow, the more interest payments we have, and then the more the other buckets get squeezed. And what's the first bucket after debt repayment is education. After that is welfare, and after that is transportation. So it's no wonder that California has such a dismal transportation roads system because it's the last cow, if you will, at the trough. So in order to fix this problem, it's not about raising more taxes. It's not about penalizing the rich for being successful. It's not about booting our middle class out because we have no jobs here available for them. It's about stop the madness in Sacramento. We have got to stop the spending. And in concert of that, we have got to be more business friendly and get more revenue into the state. There's nothing that we can do in this state. There's nothing we can do to help education until we stop the spending problem. Furthermore, once we get the spending under control, what I would like to see is more intense vocational training within high schools. It is not in everybody's plan to go to college, nor should it be. And I think that if we're doing our citizens a disservice when we're not offering things like electrical engineer, like the state of Florida has just implemented. They've got an amazing program. So if we bring back vocational studies into our California high schools, I think we were better equipped for job-ready students.
Thank you. For most business people, state government seems good at only one thing. Oh, I'm sorry, did I miss one?
Yep.
Oh, I apologize.
You're getting all excited, I know. It's exciting.
Go ahead.
Well, our education system is really an atrocity and an embarrassment to be at the levels that we're at and the funding being cut, over and over. $20 billion has been cut over the last 4 years, and we're failing our youth. So obviously getting our budget in order is the first order of business, and I believe that we need to support Governor Brown in his efforts to balance the budget, because we can then immediately get some monies back into the schools, which is so desperately needed. I fully support vocational schools, as well as making sure that our worker training programs are available through the community colleges and such.
Thank you. Scott Jardine.
Yes, sir. I'm a former teacher, 4 years high school and a high school soccer coach, and still a youth coach after more than 30 years. I know what education needs. Education to teachers, the students need the tools and the resources to have a 21st century educational system, educated students who graduate and can work in an economy. The businesses and large corporations can hire an educated workforce. Here's what we need to do, as I said before. We need to expand the economy and create jobs. When you create all these high-paying jobs in construction, whatever industry it is in, and they start getting incomes, they've got to pay state income taxes. When you create 6,000 jobs here, 10,000 jobs on this project, 15,000 jobs in this massive water infrastructure program, all this money goes back into state coffers. People will go off state support, and it creates more money. It goes into education. We've got to manage our state resources better. I gave you one indication of just these leases. There's 4,000 leases. Look at the other 3,950 leases, where that money's going. During the day, I'm a state prosecutor. I prosecute fraud against consumers, against seniors. Let me tell you about one case our office at the Attorney General's office prosecuted last year, and we're not finished. We've got 4 other agencies to go against. We prosecuted with the largest diagnostic company in the United States. They've been billing people for blood tests when you apply as a teacher, a professional, a police officer to test if you're on drugs. This one company rated the state for $400 million over the last 2 decades, the largest diagnostic company in the state. We're going after 3 more. We'll get back $1 billion for the state taxpayers because our office is fighting. But they've cut 30% of our office. We must invest in alternative fuel and stop spending $700 billion going overseas. It should be invested here in the United States and California.
Thank you. Ms. Coleman.
Yes. Well, Prop 98 determines how much is allocated to the school districts from K to 12 and also the colleges and the community colleges. Basically, as you may know, that each district gets an allocated share based upon the property values. What's unfair about this is that the city, for example, of Compton, gets far less than the city of Beverly Hills. I would propose that there be a fair allocation of the fungible amounts to every district for every pupil at the same number. Now, local districts have the opportunity to do something different. You can pass local tax parcel taxes, which Pasadena tried to do a few years ago, but it didn't fail. But I bet if they did it now, it would pass. So there are a lot of things that can be done, but more importantly, it's an embarrassment for the state. We are number 47 in how much we allocate to each student. And probably by summer, we're going to be number 50. Now, if that doesn't get you excited and upset and angry, I don't know what will, but I think we're failing our students, and we need to do a lot more. I don't believe we should cut $1 more from education. It's ridiculous to be 47. It's ridiculous to be going towards 50. We were a great state before. We're terrible right now at how we treat our kids.
I think it's important that we look at it in a balanced approach. I think we clearly need to recognize that we have to grow the economy, we have to create new jobs and opportunity and increase the strength of the middle class. I mean, let's face it, I've got 5 kids, and 2 of them are in college already, 2 are seniors in high school now, they'll be in college next year, and my junior, the one girl, is gonna be there soon. So. Even if I win this seat, I still may need a job, Victoria. But the point I guess I'm trying to make is that we need to increase the opportunities for preschool. We need to bring back summer school. We need to also look at vocational training, not only at the high school level, but at the community college level. We need to grow that so that the jobs, a lot of the construction jobs that Michael talked about, those are real. Gold Line is going to provide real jobs. It will, and as it continues to go forward, it will create greater opportunity. There's a bill pending in the Assembly now where, and then this is the other part of it, because we have to look at some restructuring. You can't have a bureaucracy the size of California and not have some opportunity to make some changes there. But there are also out-of-state corporations that are doing business in California that are not paying their fair share. They're not paying any taxes to the extent that they should. And those dollars can be used, according to this bill, to help middle-class homeowners, or middle-class families send their kids to the California school system, the UCs, and the CSUs, and have 3/4 of the tuition eliminated. And that's an important distinction. We need to focus on that opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Holden. Now I'm going to ask the question that I wanted to ask so quickly. For many business people, state government seems good at only one thing, making it difficult to turn a profit. This reputation makes it almost impossible to attract new companies to our state and retain the employers we currently enjoy. What would you do to make California more business-friendly and more attractive to businesses and employers? Ms. Rudzik, if we could start with you, please.
Well, attracting businesses is a great idea. I think we should start with just keeping the businesses that we have. And it really comes down to being very thoughtful about our regulatory system and making sure that our small businesses are being fueled so that they can grow. So when we are looking at new regulations in the state assembly as legislators, we have to be very careful about the effect these regulations have, whether they conflict with other regulations, whether they're being thought out in a cost-benefit way. And this is a very important thing that I deal with on a daily basis in our business. So being very responsible about regulation is very important. I think we also need to really focus on tax incentives, not only for businesses coming in, but also for small businesses. We need to help our small businesses. We need to make it easier for them to do business, not harder for them to do business. So these are things that if we don't do, we are going to continue to lose businesses, and the more we lose businesses, our budget's going to get worse, and we have to be so proactive at this point. There's no more sitting back and talking about it. We've got to work on it right now.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Carcetti, please.
You know, I think the main thing is businesses want to come to California or any area because you've got an infrastructure in place. Good roads, good water system, good sewer system, good police force, good community supportive government. So the first thing is to provide an infrastructure, especially in California, that the goods movement, when they come through the ports, are actually moving through our system. There's a movement to move goods from here through our region, and that's a $500 billion a year benefit to our economy, just goods movement from the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach. Secondly is collaboration among local governments, regional governments like the San Gabriel Valley Council of Governments, San Gabriel Valley Economic Partnership, or the local chambers of commerce. Let me give you one example of what I deal with every month. I sit in another regional agency. It's the largest air pollution control district in the nation. During these worst economic times in the last 3 years, I sat there as one of 13 board members. I represent the cities of eastern San Gabriel Valley from Santa Clarita all the way to Claremont. And every month we have regulations because our job is to clean up the air. But at the same time, you're very sensitive to the needs of business, individuals, cities, and corporations. So we've done every time, we've even had a permanent amnesty program during these last 3 years because we realized business were coming to us saying, listen, I had 100 employees in 2007. When the economy tanked, now I've got 40. We're losing jobs. Can you put this regulation off? And we said yes. So it's taking a balanced approach. You move forward on issues of improving air quality and our health, but at the same time, you're very sensitive to the needs of business, so you don't put everybody out of business and businesses leave.
I thought you would never ask that question. Basically, if you look at my flyer, which is out in the lobby, you'll see that I have tax incentive programs in the flyer that give, for example, companies a 10-year tax holiday if they bring their company to California and they hire Californians. I have credits that are in my web page for hiring those college graduates only from California first before they hire other college students from outside of California. I have tax credits going to the employer for the first year of wages based upon a certain amount of wages that they pay each year that will be beneficial in getting them started. But you need to know something. British Petroleum, and I spent 10 years in the oil and gas industry, British Petroleum announced that they're leaving California. They have their 600-acre refinery for sale. Every single gas station that's coming up for lease right now is not being renewed. We are going to lose that industry, and we're going to be importing gasoline. We're no longer going to be manufacturing it here. We're going to be importing gasoline. And it's going to be twice the price for a gallon of gas. And I might just finish. I'm from Atlantic Ritual Company, so I know what I'm talking about.
Thank you.
I think that some of this is going to be looking at policies that go beyond just the state of California as well. I mean, we're talking about the Pacific Rim and California being an attractive state, and with the new Korea-U.S. free trade agreement, there's an opportunity to, in eliminating the tariff, it creates a greater opportunity to see more trading with foreign partners that come into the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach. We're the two largest ports in the entire country. And with the Alameda Corridor, the whole idea of the project is to move those goods and services through and into the San Gabriel Valley. We can create, we can build on that. We can work with the higher institutions within this district, and in the eastern part with the Claremont colleges, Laverne, University of Laverne, MWD and University of Laverne have a water project that they're looking at doing that's going to bring jobs and increase water options for the eastern Valley, but we're seeing companies, even in this economy, that manufacturers who are locating in the San Gabriel Valley and who are starting to grow their businesses. And if we can see going forward how this free trade agreement can then benefit not only this entire country, but most specifically the San Gabriel Valley, just by seeing the increase of goods and services through the valley.
I'll start out with a story. A friend of mine owns this company in Pomona. He's third generation owner of this company, highly regulated and absolutely disgruntled with California. He actually flies a Texas flag outside of his business because he just recently opened one of an office in Houston, and the government in Texas opened their arms to him and has helped him flourish in his Texas office. We don't have that here in California. There are 52, like I said, 52 assembly members right now who do not think that free market employs or creates jobs, and this is a problem. Until we change that, that mentality, we're not gonna go anywhere with this. Case study that's out right now talks about the smog levels back in the late 70s and throughout the 80s. Nobody, we couldn't play outside. We couldn't, let the kids go outside for recess. And so we started to clean up our air and water, and we started to drive businesses out. We started to heavily regulate our air and water. And the study states that now we are no better off now than we were then, because now so many people are out of work. So many people do not have health insurance and cannot provide the necessity for their families. So if we want to get our families back to work with health insurance, we want to get our families into educational pathways, we have to bring businesses back, and I don't believe government jobs that we have to heavily subsidize will do it for our state.
Thank you. Thank you. Now we're going to begin reading some questions from you in the audience. So forgive me. I'll read your handwritten notes as best I can. It's a good question coming up here. Aside from the economy, what do you feel is the most important issue facing California and the United States today? We'll start with you, Mr. Karcher.
I really think you're looking at energy. It's probably the largest transfer of wealth in human history over the last several years. With gas at $4.50 a gallon, we as Americans are purchasing 10 million barrels of oil a day. The cost to our country is $750 billion a year going out every year. Multiply 2, 3, 4, you're talking trillions of dollars. Trillions of dollars. There's also a health cost associated with that. A number of agencies have found there's at least a $22 billion a year cost to our health because people who are getting from the pollution from cars, trucks, planes, ships off our ports, cancer, emphysema, asthma, hospitalizations, thousands of days lost from business, thousands of days lost from school. It's impacting our entire country. If we turn our country around, we just bought an electric car. By buying that electric car, I created a job. We bought the electric charging station, created a job, hired an electrician. If we transfer from our dependence on foreign oil to alternative sources, look at compressed natural gas. It's half the price of diesel. The trucking, we used to support them at AQMD, but now the trucking companies are telling us, we don't need your support. After 5 years, we paid it off, the transition to compressed natural gas. We're making money. It's cleaner burning, and it's cheaper. This is the biggest issue facing America today.
Mr. Colton.
In all due respect, Michael, I have to disagree a little bit. I think the biggest issue is education. I talked about that earlier. We're leaving a whole generation of kids behind. If we don't get our act together, we are going to be a lost country. So we better get our ducks in order and make sure that people come first. In fact, people come first is how I see things, and a lot of issues that need to be balanced. But as I said earlier, with California being number 47 going to number 50, we have a real problem. We want to know why people out there, these kids come out of school, they have a second-class education, they get into gangs, they create all these problems and all these costs for our state, and we need to turn that around. I have 5 sons, just like Chris, so I understand the issues associated with, I'm not sure if he had sons, but 5 kids, you said. But in any event, I feel very strongly, because that's what got me out of my poverty. There was no other way I could get out of my poverty with a mother who lived on Social Security for my dad's death benefits when he was killed in the Korean War. Got me out of my poverty, and if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be here today.
I agree. I think education is the #1 issue. Anytime you live in a society where you see more money going into prisons than into education, especially here in California, there's a problem, and we need to fix that.
That was fast. I'd agree with education. Being a mom of 2, I think that actually mom of 4. I've got 2 stepdaughters in college, and then 2 of my youngest ones in public education. I was at a conference the other day, and it was disturbing to hear that 53% of our babies today in the state of California are born to WIC. 80% of our students have smartphones, yet 60% of them are on free and reduced lunches. There is an absolute disconnect with priorities in the home, with taking education in bringing it down to the family level and getting our families involved. We've got a budget crisis that keeps pushing further budget cuts to our education, and that stems from our insatiable appetite to spend, 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 and come up with whatever programs we can to fund. And I think that our priorities are absolutely, completely, and utterly out of whack at this point. Thank you.
Well, there's no question that we're leaving our children behind, and I think it's atrocious. And so a focus on education and making sure our children are getting the best education, especially in the state of California. We used to have the best education system. So I completely agree that education is something we need to focus on, and getting our families involved. More involvement by parents, participation in the schools, and of course making sure the funding is there.
Thank you. Our next question from the audience. We all appreciate the Gold Line. If elected...
The what? What was the word?
I said, I'm sorry. We all appreciate the Gold Line.
Gold Line.
If elected, what would your transportation priorities be other than the Gold Line? And how would you fund those?
That's a good question. The Gold Line. Well, the Gold Line is obviously working. It's successful, and it's going to be extended. What I would do, this state doesn't have much. This state doesn't have money to fund a lot of stuff. So if we think we're going to build another line here and there without state money, it's not going to happen. But what's happening between Vegas and what's happening in LA is that the new transportation line, the new rail line there, is being funded by private money. So I would try to bring in private money into our city, into our district, into our county, and use that as a future vehicle for allowing us to expand our transportation system. I've been advised by an individual who works on the bullet train. I know him very well. He's a good friend of mine. He's a very high-level executive. And he's already told me, for example, that the bullet train that's going to go to Merced and to Burbank is not going to work. No one's going to ride it. It's supposed to go to San Francisco. It's supposed to be in lieu of having to take an airplane. So we have to be very sensible as to what we're doing. But the bottom line is that we need to get more private money to do what the state's trying to do, because the state can't run a business. It can't run anything. So
well, clearly the Gold Line, what we're talking about is phase 1. I mean, the second phase. So what we really need to be able to focus on, it will fall on one of us to have to be a part of this, is to look at the funding for the extension phases, the third phase, and extending it all the way out to Ontario. So certainly that is the most important project in this district, and it's one where we're going to have to extend the funding for Measure R to allow that to happen. And so to that end, that would be the #1 priority. I think we have a multitude of variety of other areas that we can focus on. Certainly having, making sure that we have reliable bus service. I mean, you know, even from the neighborhoods, you still have to have the right kind of connecting bus service to get you to, for many neighborhoods, to get to the light rail and to the train stations. And I think it's important that you have resources that would be placed into that. Certainly MTA is the regional transportation agency, and so the state is in a partnership in terms of working with MTA. But I also like ideas about increasing bike lanes and having, and certainly here in Pasadena we've done that to make sure that it's a bicycle-friendly community, alternative way to travel and to move around. And so I think those are creative ways that we can continue to look at growing and strengthening our transportation system.
I think it all boils down to local level control. I think bike lanes for each individual cities that where it works is great. I am vehemently opposed to the high-speed rail because we have 18 regional and international airports that service San Diego to San Francisco. 18 airports that are locally owned and are revenue streams for those cities that they service. So why would we defer any type of revenue away from the locally controlled areas? These 18 airports service every single major city between San Diego and San Francisco, including Bakersfield, Fresno, where you could get out to Merced. Nobody's going to ride the rail. It will never pay back. There will never be a net gain. Government doesn't know how to create anything that has a net gain, and we all know that. I think that I agree with Mr. Colton. I've seen studies done on a private railway that's funded by the casinos, actually, in Vegas. So going from LA to Vegas, and it's paid for by privately held companies, and they know how to best budget and create jobs. But it's very scary to think that every transportation project that we come across, it starts out by one number and it explodes into another number, and we cannot turn back once you break ground.
Well, I'm in favor of public transportation, and I think funding the Gold Line and finding sources to fund it is very important. I would work with our congressional leaders to try to find federal dollars to help us fund the Gold Line extension. I also think that getting our budget in order will help with those things. And I'd also like to say that if elected, I would not support any government program, including transportation programs, that don't have pre-identified funding sources. I mean, we cannot just continue to spend what we don't have. We have to live within our means.
Thank you.
Thanks. With respect to the Gold Line, we do have funding for this first phase to Azusa, and we'll finish it up in probably the fall of 2015. But there's no money for this extension from Azusa to Claremont, Montclair, and Ontario. So hopefully in this Measure R, and I do support the extension with Mayor Villaraigosa, we can get money for that to complete it, because that's not a done deal yet, far from it. Again, I was just out there 2 weeks ago over the iconic bridge structure, looking at the maintenance yard that's proposed to be built very soon, and we still don't have the money for that, so we've got to work on that. But I would support creation of a comprehensive, integrated, efficient mass transit program in this entire region. The same program we had in the 1900s that Henry Huntington and the Pacific Electric Car developed. It transported millions of individuals from Orange County, Los Angeles, San Bernardino, and Riverside counties. It was the best system in the world at the time. We can bring that back. Second, we've got to finish the ACE projects, Alameda, Corridor, Extension, Construction projects. The goods come north, they go east. But there's a lot of congestion when you stop at the rail tracks. We've got to do rail grade separation, and those are billion-dollar projects. We've got 3, El Monte, Industry, San Gabriel, and Lino. Those have got to be finished to move goods and services, or people won't come here. Finally, I support bike lanes. I ride my bike from South Pasadena to the Reagan Building every month, 18-mile round trip. We need a comprehensive network of bikes the county's working on, and you fund this through Measure R extension. And the federal government, let's start investing in infrastructure and bring our troops home sooner. That's billions, trillions of dollars back in our country, in our infrastructure.
Thank you. Next question from our audience is, do you favor reforming the California Environmental Quality Act? And if so, what would you propose to speed up the growth, and to create jobs in California?
Well, I can tell you that having been in a position, in a public sector position for as long as I have, we've relied on CEQA to do a number of very important projects here in the city of Pasadena. And what it has done is created the kind of transparency and thorough review of projects that were not being reviewed properly at times gone by. And so I think, quite frankly, it's worked very effectively, and I think that it has protected communities in some instances. Certainly, there are arguments to be made for how long it takes to go through a process, and certainly if one can look at the timing without jeopardizing the benefits that CEQA brings, I think it's certainly an area that might be looked at. But generally speaking, I think CEQA has worked very well. Has been very efficient in terms of community engagement and being a part of the transparency of understanding the total impacts that projects bring to communities.
I think pick your environmental group, CEQA, CARB, AQMD, EPA. There is a balance that has to be found within California where we don't penalize companies and we don't discourage the growth here in our state because you know, for environmental issues, we're sacrificing jobs, we're sacrificing livelihoods for families. So I'm in full support of looking at anything that would streamline businesses, offer manufacturing, which are great middle-class jobs, back to this area. San Bernardino County, which this district does touch, has been absolutely devastated by some of the major environmental groups that regulate our air and our water around this town, around this district. So I think that we have, it's a very fine balance, but we have to find where it works so that we're not cutting one source off to spite another.
We have to protect our natural resources. They're vital to our existence, obviously. And I will always be in full support of environmental review. As I mentioned earlier, I've studied environmental law and put it into use for some years in my career. I also think that we have to be very cautious and thoughtful yet again in making sure that CEQA is continually reviewed for its expediency and its effectiveness. Because once businesses or whoever is doing a development, whether it's business or government or whoever, once they go through the environmental studies, they need to have some predictability on their projects. And so I think we have to always be reviewing CEQA to streamline and get things done quickly.
Thank you.
You know, CEQA is the California Environmental Quality Act passed in the 1970s to really look at projects in California and identify the impacts that these projects will have in the environment, whether it's air quality, water quality, transportation, traffic impacts. It's good and implementation is good. If you look prior to CEQA, prior to the 1970s, you know, you had the companies, aerospace industry, defense industry here. You know what, we'll just dump our stuff in the ground. What happened after that? We're the largest Superfund site in the United States because of pollution. Prior to 1970, you saw the American Lung Association article in the paper. You've seen pictures of what air quality was here in Southern California in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and still until CEQA passed, AQMD and other agencies like that came into being. So it's important to protect our environment, to protect our health. It's not just an environmental issue. Health is a serious issue. These pollution costs our health. People die of cancer, emphysema, have asthma problems, go to hospitals, cost businesses billions of dollars a year because people can't work or have to go home. But in the long run, I'm a practicing attorney for the Attorney General's office and also worked at Caltrans for 10 years. So I know CEQA and its limitations. I also know that with the court system, with the cuts in court system now by 30%, cases taking nearly 3-4 years to get to trial, you've got to modify it a little bit so you don't stop the review. You get it to the, if there's a lawsuit, you get it to the appellate court quicker, or just go immediately to the appellate court so there's still review by a judge, an appellate court, and you've still got the environmental protections, but at the same time you're not sitting in the court for 5 years because there's no money for funding.
Well, I must disagree with my environmental attorneys on both ends here. Having worked in the oil and gas industry, they do good things. Oil and gas industry does good things. If you don't know this, the Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA in California, has higher standards than the federal government. What are we going to do? We're going to drive all these industries out of our state and have nothing? I mean, lumber is gone, basically. We drove them out. Farmers, what happened with the farmers up in the San Joaquin Valley? Well, the little smeltfish won that round of fighting right there. We're killing every single industry that's viable, that hires people. We have farmers, we have ranchers. If you go up to the San Joaquin Valley, if you visit all these cities, you'll find city after city after city that's depressed. 35%, 39% unemployment rates. It was originally caused by the drought, but the smelt killed a lot of these industries. This is terrible. This is not me. I would never do this. We need to be reasonable. We need the balance between what we're trying to do to have a better environment and what we're doing as far as killing our communities and our people. We're driving everybody out of this state.
We have time for one more question from the audience. So, if you do favor amending Proposition 13, how would you propose changing it?
Is that me? Well, I'm happy to announce I'm the only endorsed candidate by Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, and there's not a thing that I would change on Prop 13. If you really wanted to put a major nail in the coffin of our state, you would start messing with Prop 13. We've got so many families who are on fixed incomes, so many families that have gone from 2 incomes down to 1 income. I know for my own sake, if Prop 13 was repealed, we bought our home back in the late 90s, and I'm not sure that we would be prepared as having children in school right now and one in college, that we would be able to handle property tax increases. And I think that I am not alone in that. And I would do everything in my power to protect Prop 13, and Howard Jarvis recognized that in me.
So I oppose any changes to Proposition 13. I think it would be devastating. Studies have shown that increased property taxes at this time could cost us over 400,000 jobs and could significantly hurt all of our small businesses.
You know, I think at this time when you turn the pages of history and you look at this last couple of years, it's a fragile moment in our economic recovery. So at this time, in our history of California, 2012, I wouldn't tamper with it right now. Maybe in the future I might be willing to examine it when our economy's back in 100% shape. But right now, let it go. Let our economy recover. It's going to take several years. It's a long process for our economy to recover now with the housing industry, the construction industry. This is something we're not going to look at for a long time.
Well, as you know, Prop 13 is the vehicle through which schools are primarily been funded because of property taxes. I would not change Prop 13 at this time. But those cities who have the financial wherewithal, South Pasadena, maybe Pasadena, I'm not sure about Claremont, they can implement a parcel tax. They can implement local taxes to help their school districts. But I would not fool around with Prop 13. I am a Republican, but Howard Jarvis did not talk to me. So I guess he wasn't interested in what I wanted to say.
You gotta reach out to him. You gotta reach out.
Chris?
Well, I'm feeling kind of bad because he didn't call me either. It's not, I'm not looking to make any changes on Proposition 13.
Thank you. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for questions. So now we'd like to give each of the candidates an opportunity to make one final closing statement for 90 seconds. And I think we'll start with you, Mr. Cacciati, if you would.
Thank you. I feel I'm the best candidate to go to Sacramento and fight for your rights. I'm a former teacher and high school soccer coach and college soccer coach, and for the last 30 years have volunteered my time in the community, coaching kids, working with senior citizens, volunteering my time at Meals on Meals for the last 10 years. In 1987 to 1991, I worked in the California State Assembly in Sacramento for a year, working with the legislative process, getting legislation through from concept, through the committees, to the governor's desk, to signature. I worked down in a local office, so I understand politics in Los Angeles. In 1991, I transferred over to the California Department of Transportation. I handled multi-million-dollar cases in Southern California, so I know where all the offices are. I know that 18 to 20,000 employees in Caltrans, their maintenance office, their planning, their construction, their design. From 2001 to 2000 to the current, I've been a Deputy Attorney General with the state of California, prosecuting consumer fraud. I work with about 50 consumer affair agencies, from Board of Accountancy to nursing boards, to contractors boards, to Bureau of Automotive Repair. I run one of the most well-financed, managed cities in the San Gabriel Valley, like I said before, for the last 11 years. We've tripled our reserves. When people were laying people off, cutting services, cutting police, cutting fires, we were giving our employees reasonable raises. We were balancing our budget. I work on 3 regional agencies that cover the entire San Gabriel Valley: the AQMD, the San Gabriel Valley Council of Governments, and the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy. And I oversee billions of dollars in infrastructure programs that create tens of thousands of jobs every year. And you need somebody to get to Sacramento and hit the ground running. It's not a place to learn.
Unfortunately, I didn't mention it in my opening statement, but I've worked for 2 Fortune 500 companies in the oil and gas industry, and I finished my career basically with a pharmaceutical and biological company as its president. I've been CFO, general counsel, and had many mucky-muck groups out there. I have a white paper. If you go and pick up my little brochure, you can go to a website and you see what that white paper says. Many things we talked about today are in that white paper. I believe, frankly, for example, one of my ideas, I think we should have a part-time legislature. It's sort of a maverick idea. Texas has it. Try it out. I mean, basically, that legislature, if that was my executive team out there, with respect to the results that have occurred, they'd all be fired. So why not put them on a part-time basis? They can do less damage. Or we can find them something to really do that's important. I like the gold line, but how does that create long-term jobs with respect to things outside the goal line? That's really what we need to focus on. I like green jobs and local technology jobs, but they're small potatoes. That's not going to make our economy robust. I've already talked about the oil and gas industry. We're killing that industry. It's like toast right now. So in any event, go to my webpage, look at what I have to say. You get a lot more out as far as what I say, what I mean, and what I want to do. Thank you.
There are 5 reasons why I'm running to be your assembly member. Nicholas, Alex, Austin, Mariah, and Noah. The state has got to be a better state for them than it is right now. It's got to work better. It's got to be more functional. It can't be dysfunctional. It's got to invest in its environment. I mean, this is a great state. Many of you came here, and your parents and people before you, your family, came here because this was a great state. Where else could you have an ocean and a desert coming together? This is a fabulous state with opportunities. We got to bring that back. And that's what I want to dedicate my time serving in 6 years to do. It's not a lot of time. I'm not looking to change places with Anthony Portantino and stick my finger in the dike and hold back the water for 6 years until someone else comes along. I want to work with you to help make a difference in our district, in our community. What's a district anyway? It's a series of neighborhoods with people working together to make a difference and to try to turn things around. We have some of the best higher education institutions in this community in Claremont than anywhere in the entire region. We have resources we can draw on, and together, you'll be the legislator. I will implement your legislation. Thank you.
Claremont, my hometown, the city of trees and PhDs. We so fondly like to say it. I'm going to spend my 90 seconds with my vision. If you want to read about my professional background, please visit my website, votedonnalow.com. But the solution lies in the type of person you send to Sacramento. The choice you make on June 5th and then again in November is paramount to the future of our state. I was meeting with an individual a couple of weeks ago who used to be very involved in California politics. He's about 77 years old now. He met me for breakfast, arms shut, completely shut down, and said, "I've given up on California." And I said, "You're not the first person along this journey that I've met who says that they've given up on California." We sat, we talked for an hour. I told him my vision for California, and he stopped me. He stood up, shook my hand, and he said, "Donna, I believe that we can do this." I urge you all here tonight not to give up on California. Don't vote based on Republican or Democrat. Vote based off of who has the vision, who will take that passion, that fire in the belly up to Sacramento and fight for the people down in this district. Our problems can be solved. We can again be the great state of California. Hell, in 1849, they came here to find their fortune in gold. Eureka! We can find it again, and I am determined to do that. Thank you.
So thank you again for coming tonight. You know, I believe through my education and my real day-to-day business experience that I'm uniquely qualified to go up to Sacramento and try to fix some of the problems that we have there. I think we need some new visions and a business approach with seriousness and the laser-like focus that it takes to run a very large company, which at the moment I do. We have to solve these major problems of creating and attracting more jobs and retaining them, to fixing the budget crisis, to protecting our environment, and to making sure that our kids are being educated properly so that they can join our workforce. So I'm not a career politician. I don't think career politicians are doing a good job. I don't think they're getting the job done because they're too busy looking at politics. I'm a businesswoman, and I'd be honored to go up to Sacramento and represent this district. Thanks.
Well, thank you to all of the candidates for taking time with us tonight. We wish you all good luck and look forward to observing your campaigns unfold over the next few weeks. We encourage everyone who can register and vote to do so in this and each and every election. Thank you again to Justin Hornick and to 1545 Media for taking care of the sound tonight and recording the event for broadcast and webcast. We really appreciate your membership and your support. Thanks also to the Pasadena Senior Center for your help and your support. This is a terrific venue for us, and we appreciate you making it available to us. And finally, on behalf of the Pasadena Chamber, Pasadena Foothills Association of Realtors, and the South Pasadena Chamber of Commerce, thank you all for coming out here tonight. And let's give these candidates one last great round.